It's a brand new year at the Watercress line, so Happy New Year, welcome back to the Watercress line, and welcome to In the Loop. Well, hello guys, welcome back to the Watercress line for another year, our 45th anniversary. Yes, on the 30th of April 1977, the ceremonial ribbon was cut down at Alresford and the Watercress line reopened. So don't worry, we have a lot planned this year and it's going to be brilliant. But in the meantime, obviously the railway has been running Steam Illuminations, but a lot has been going on behind the scenes. So since we're at Ropley, let's have a quick roundup of just some of what's been happening. Starting off in Ropley Motive Power Department, a lot has been happening. 75079's wheels have just been taken out and the wheels to Canadian Pacific's, the tender ones at least, have just been put back in. Further down, 08377, the work on that is progressing really well and the engine is starting to look pretty shiny and new. Behind me, the Ivet tank has been in for its annual exam, where you drain down the boiler, strip out parts, let the boiler inspector, inspect it. They've also taken the opportunity to take bits out like the regulator valve, some of the motion to do some work on. Now the regulator valve is the bit that's actually inside the dome, and that lets the steam into the cylinders. And you may be wondering exactly how hard it is to get out. Well, Andrew showed us it's a bit challenging. Anyway, onwards to the carriage works. Over here you'll find our kitchen car, normally found on the Countryman. The kitchen itself has been stripped out and the guys here are taking the opportunity to do some more work on the coach itself. So hopefully once they're done, it'll look fabulous and I'm looking forward to an excellent Sunday roast. Here in the boiler shop, the work on Kilmston is progressing well. As you remember, there's only a little bit to do mainly at the bottom of the boiler and these plates here are getting cleaned up, ready to weld and rivet in. They've also got the tubes annealed, ready to be put in. To my left, 75079 is standard 4. The copper firebox is progressing well. They're getting ready to do some copper welding and they've also taken the foundation ring off to do some general wear and tear repair. And at the far end, Canadian Pacific's boilers, you can hear them now. They're doing reaming and tapping, ready to carry on staying. I did ask how many stays they got up to, but I suppose when you got over 2,000 stays to do, it's very easy to lose count. So that's all the inside done. Now let's head out. If you came to us over Steam Illuminations to our viewing area, you may have noticed something a little bit different. Well, that's because the team here at Ropley, who deal with the stations and ground side of things, have built this, using old railway sleepers, putting them back to good use. And frankly, it does make a huge difference. Now, let's go further down the station. At the miniature railway, they have a new station building and 2 new locomotives joining the fleet. One you may recognise from the Paynton Zoo Railway, which has just joined the fleet here after the railway unfortunately closed, but it's going to have a good home here at the Mid-Hants Miniature Railway. One of the engines you may have even ridden behind has also joined the permanent fleet. The track work's going well and the extension is looking even more promising. And on the line of track work, as a bonus down here at Alresford, we've had a Tampa visiting doing some track work for us. And don't worry, there's a video in the works. Well, a lot certainly has been going on behind closed doors, from regular winter maintenance to big ambitious overhaul programs. Now, we thought we'd take the opportunity to chat to one of the societies, because it may surprise you to know that not all the locomotives here are actually owned by the Watercress line themselves. A few, like 506, are owned by a separate society, the Urie Society to be precise. So, let's go and see what they're about. Well, to talk a little bit more about the Urie Society, we have our chairman, Mark. Thanks for talking to us.
Will.
So who are the Urie Society?
Urie Society is a little group that was formed in 1972. We own 2 locos, both based on the Watercress line, both Urie designed S15s and 9 wagons, some of which are runners, some of which aren't. This old beastie we bought in 1976, moved to railway in 77. She was first steamed in 1987, ran for 14 years until 2001. That was facilitated by a boiler swap. Came out of ticket in 2001, then took 18 years to overhaul her because the front 9 feet of this engine has been taken apart because we had to replace the frames. But anyway, yeah, the front 9 feet of frames is brand new. Taking everything off, rebuilding it was a major task. She went back into traffic on the 2nd of June 2019. I have to say it was one hell of a day. As a group, we've got 320 odd members, so we're not huge. But I think a large number of those turned up on that day to see the event. What happened after that? Well, that's simple. We've got another engine, 499, which is approximately 6 months older than this one. This one was turned into traffic October 1920. The other one was April 1920. So they're both now just over 100 years old. 499 is the other one. We've been working on it for the past 8 years. But of course, once this one was fully back in traffic, we've totally switched our attention to that one. Probably a couple of years away, but she will run. There's lots to tell about that engine, and if you want to, we could go and have a look at it and let you know what we've been doing.
That sounds brilliant. So considering this is over 100 years old,
yep.
the fact that you guys managed to bring this back into Steam, yeah, let's go and look at the other one.
Okay, let's do it.
So Mark, this is the boiler for 499 which you're in the firebox for. So what's the state of play? I can see lots of the sheeting's been removed. Where are we at?
Yeah, we've taken the decision on this one that whatever work needs doing on it, we need to do now, because we need to acknowledge that as a group we're not getting any younger. While 499 is a restoration, not an overhaul, let's do everything we possibly can. So thinking ahead, when it's run its 10 years and it comes back out, the work to be done on it is minimal, maybe just a retube and so on. So
makes sense.
It's really being picked apart. We started work on this a number of years ago when it was in the yard, drilling out side stays, ready to take the sheet off. Subsequently came in here a couple of years ago, then Sam Rowbottom, as the railway's boiler shop foreman, did an inspection in conjunction with Barry Stratton, who's our lead engineer. There's a lot of wastage on the side sheets and the throat plate was bad. So the decision was taken, cut out what you can see is now gone, replace the throat plate and also a small section on the back head. You can't see it, but the other side sheet is removed as well. We've bought a new throat plate pressing from South Devon. New side sheets have come in. They came in shaped for the curve, but not cut to shape. The guys in the boiler shop have now done that. Various pieces have been back up and trial fitted, including the throat plate. It's all off now for fettling, weld prep and all the rest of it. There's some riveting on laps to be done at the back, I believe. But the next main job, once these sections are complete and everyone's happy with them, will be the foundation ring will come off. Then we can start working on the ash pan. So much easier when it's out. You can just get to it.
I think at 506 you gave yourself a bit of a challenge because you had to try and do it once it was back in the frame.
Once the boiler was in the frame, then we built the ash pan, yeah. And people that followed our little blogs will have noticed there is also a fire extinguisher in use in our ash pan because it was a perfect curve for one part of it. So we cut it in half, both sides. That's the next big job, but there's one outstanding job that we haven't yet got a final decision on, which is the crown stays. Crown stays are in the water space at the top. You got a gap about that much and it drops down to that at the sides. There's 180 stays in there. I think we're sort of 70-80% convinced they've got to be replaced, which is the job that was done on 506. Again, Sam will do the final inspection, but he can't do it until the boiler is lead on its side, I believe, he will start having a look. Although, to start with it this way up, we might have a go at trying to undo some of them from the inside of the box. That is going to be the point at which we'll know really how long this job is going to be, because the crown stays themselves are a massive undertaking. This box, I think, is 9 odd feet long, and someone's got to get in from the barrel if they do have to come out, and you literally have got to cut them out. So by the time they get to the fire or door end, you're on your stomach, fully in there.
That sounds like one hell of an undertaking.
Oh, it's going to be a massive undertaking, and I don't think it's one that the Urie group will be able to necessarily undertake, because you've got to get in through the dome, and of course, age takes over, doesn't it? Let alone mince pies. So that's something sometime this year we'll know the answer of. But in the meantime, as I say, the rebuild in terms of getting everything ready has started. There are more stays to come out, broken ones. They're in the process of being marked up, and then we can start taking them out as and when we're ready.
Fair enough. So while you've been doing the boiler, you've also been doing the frames outside. So
Absolutely.
Where the boiler will sit, can we go and have a look at that?
Let's go have a look.
Fantastic.
Sounds like a plan.
Now, Mark, I've seen you guys working avidly on the frames here for where the boiler will be sitting.
Many
so,
years.
Yeah, what is the state of play with this?
Pretty good, to be honest, Will. We've done most of the heavy work in terms of the rebuild. So 2 minutes to explain what I mean by that.
Go for it.
When we were down with 506, I mentioned that the front 9 feet had to be completely removed, replace the frames. We've had to do very similar work on this one, but it was 14 feet. From that point forwards, the frame plate is brand new, is a few years new, but clearly to do the work we needed to do on that, everything forward of the front axle had to be removed. So small things like the splashers and the sandboxes, the cylinder blocks had to come off, obviously all the superstructure, the valance, the running plate and so on, and the motion bracket. The key thing is, or the motion bracket rather, is the difference between this one and 506. 506 was cut there, so we didn't need to do this. This one further back, it all had to come off. It was a mammoth task. Worst is the cylinder blocks, because they're bolted on top and bottom and the sides, but at the bottom the bolts are nutted on a casting inside the frames, and the only way into that casting is an aperture about so big that you've got to put your body through with the gas axe, so you're cutting off your own air. So that was an experience which I had to go at very briefly, and I passed it back to Barry, who's our engineer, as I told you.
I don't blame you. So why was it that 506 and 499 had the front cut off? Is there a lot of stresses at this end? Was it pitting or?
With 506, it was wastage where the cylinder blocks sit. When it was running laterally up to 2001, apparently there was a bit of banging at the front end. So they stripped it down to inspect it, and that's the point that it was noted there was something wrong behind the blocks. Long story short, when they came off, the plate was corroded. In some places, 1.1 inch thickness plate was corroded down to 3/8 of an inch.
Oh wow.
But the rust had blown the blocks. So one was out of true top to bottom by about 1/4 of an inch. So that was the reason with 506. With this one, there was a crack that started at the bottom there and worked up. We felt it was a non-weldable crack, and although it created a couple of years worth of work for us, we're glad we did it, because when it came to lift the frames off, that crack went top to bottom. So we didn't actually have to cut the plate. Once all the rivets were out and the bolts were out, it was just a case of lifting it off on this side. And then obviously we cut back a bit more to tidy up. And then you do the same work on the other side, because again, we're getting no younger, so the work we're doing has to be done for decades to come.
Hopefully it'll last a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that was the kind of chassis side. So obviously there's a tender.
Yes.
So where's that?
That is just down there. We've literally just started work on it. Do you want to go have a look?
Let's go and have a look.
Let's do it.
So the tender here, it's early stages at the moment.
Yeah.
By the look of it. So yeah, what is the state of play with this
one?
one?
Well, you say early stages, Will. It's late stages, because this dates back to 1926. So what you're looking at is 50% of the tender chassis that we bought as a group from Barry that went down there behind 825, Mansell's 15. In itself, it was badly corroded. So in order to build a new tender for 499, we're using some of the original chassis from 825 and some new build, which is behind me, which I'll show you in a sec. This is upside down. We have had to completely pick it apart. There's a plate on here that the bogie sits under. That plate was far too gone to salvage, as was some steelwork underneath it. So we've replaced the steelwork. That's happened in the last couple of weeks. This is the new plate work. We've started drilling. We've cut the hole for the casting. We are going to be starting to rivet bits soon. Once we got that, then we need to go to the other piece. At the moment, it just looks like two beams, but it was all bolted together. But that was about, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, the group did that. Of course, we can now rivet. So we've picked the whole thing apart again. We're cleaning it all up. Those beams are also upside down. We will then rivet that as a section. Then we weld the two pieces together, flip it over, and then we start building the tender body, which will be rivet the floor to the frames, and then we built the tank upwards as part of the body. And in the meantime, the bogies will go in for refurbishment. So it's something we've just started. At the moment, it's taken priority over the chassis of the Loco, but we will be switching back onto that in the next little while as the weather improves, because we need to rivet the cab and the splashers and all sorts of little bits and pieces.
So you've got this chassis and bought 3 projects going on at the same time.
Yes.
So here's the big question. How can people keep track of what's happening here, and crucially, how can they support you?
We have a website, we have social media. Stephen posts reasonably regularly, so you can keep up to date with little snippets. I am trying to get back to doing blogs, but time is an issue. We're always looking for new members. We have our little membership flyer there.
Oh, I do.
As I say, there is an annual membership. It's only 15 quid, which I think is a bargain. And for that, the members do receive 3 times a year our little stovepipe magazine, which started life as a little one. It's now up to 44 pages. And that will give information on what we're doing, the progress we made in the previous 4 months. But more importantly, our members write in as well. Recollections, stories of back in the day, stories of preservation. We have got a very, very interesting film that's been made about a guy that used to work as a fireman and latterly driver at Feltham. That's about to go into print, probably over 4 or 6 issues with photo backups. So it's all those sorts of things. We don't expect people to come down necessarily and do any work because we're beyond the rust bashing. It's all about the heavy engineering stuff now. But we've got a sales stand which is open every running day of the railway. Always need help in that, always grateful for that. And people just to really help us raise funds. We need to get it finished. There is an appeal running which is on the website and it's in the membership leaflet. It's all about getting 499 finished before 506 is out of ticket so we can see the two of them together coming down under that bridge on a double-headed train. What a spectacle that's going to be. And to make it slightly different, and then I promise I'll shut up, 499 is going to be turned out as close as we can to how it looked when it was built in 1920. So you'll have compare and contrast 506 in, not the condition, but the look it had in the 1960s when withdrawn. 499 as it was looked in 1920, so stovepipe chimney, different safety valves, no smoke deflectors, all those sorts of things. Tell the history of the locos. And it will protect the legacy of Robert Urie, who I don't think is often spoken about as a CME, but for us, absolutely crucial to the history of railways in this area.
Brilliant. So there you are, folks. Just 15 quid and you can keep track of all of this. Mark, thank you so much for talking to us. And
absolute pleasure.
For you guys at home, we do have one last little surprise with 506. If you came down to Steam Illuminations, the chances are you probably would have ridden behind 506. It was one of the 3 engines out. Now, with Steam Illuminations, we're always trying to bring something new to the table. And at the time of recording, a couple of days ago, 506 did a test run to test out some new features for next year because, well, frankly, the coaches aren't always clad with lights. Not the most surprising feature. So, what they did was go a little bit further. Our Steam Illuminations trains are 6 coaches, 5 passenger and 1 generator car. And, well, what happens when you put them all together? Well, you get what you're about to see. But for now, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we shall see you next time. Oh. Stunning, isn't it?